Julianne, I'm telling you, every time somebody comes up and says to me, boy, they'd love to write a book, I think they do. It's great. Thank you for being on my interview today.
I'm so excited. This is awesome. Everybody wants to write a book and nobody knows how.
Right. So, but here's the thing. They come up to me and they're like, oh, I really love to write a book. And I'm always like, well, why not? Why wouldn't you? And there's this pervasive lack of confidence. So what's the reason that you hear most often that people haven't written a book?
They always have an excuse like I don't have enough time, or I'm working on it, which means that's code for it's going to sit in their desk forever or on their hard drive. This tells my age is how that is going to be in their desk. But that's really just an excuse for why they're really not feeling confident. The confidence is the real reason.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. And needless to say, I know you've helped so many people get through that angst and into the process and made them very successful. So thank you for sharing some of your best tips. And I know your 3 top ones I'm going to quiz you on. So let's just dive into it. Number 1 tip to get started to write the book of your life, the book of your dreams, whatever is on your mind. What do people do?
All right. The first thing you have to realize is this is not high school. This is not college. This is writing for the real world and the way people want to read today, which means you need to write conversationally. So pretend you're sitting at a bar or at, having lunch with a friend and you chit chat and you're just talking about your favorite subject, which is your book, right? And it's not because the book's your favorite subject, but the book is about your favorite subject. But you really got to imagine you're talking to a friend and don't forget all the grammar rules, but just be natural. And it's okay if you drop a sentence fragment now and then.
Oh, yay. Don't tell any English teachers, but is it okay to talk like and buts in the beginning of the sentence and all that good stuff? We can kind of break some of the rules.
Absolutely. The reason that people hire me is because they want to have a thing written in their voice. And their voice is so important to them. If your voice is to always use certain words like boom or bam, or use, and or but at the beginning of a sentence, do it.
Well, yay, girlfriend. It just justifies why I call my book kick-ass, because it's like my favorite word. Anyway, that's a great first tip. So write it in your own voice and, write, just do it. Get it going. What's the second best tip?
All right. The second thing that people do that totally screws them up is they continually re-edit. They write a paragraph and then they go back and they edit it, or they write a sentence and they go back and edit it for 15 minutes and it's exhausting. They never feel like they're moving forward. So the best thing that they can do is write until you get to the end. Don't worry about anything that you wrote down. Just write. Set a timer for 20 minutes and don't let yourself go back and edit until that 20 minutes is over. Preferably you write all the way to the end of your book and then you go back and edit. Editing has no place in a first draft.
Oh gosh, I love to hear that too. I know that when people do ask me about my experience writing, I said the writing is actually not the hard part. It's the editing that just kind of digs into my soul. I hate, I go back and go, oh my God, did I really write that? And then when somebody else edits it and they come back and they're like, did you really write that? It's very humbling.
Let me let you off the hook, okay? Because there are a million ways to say the same exact thing and none of them are wrong. People try to get exactly the perfect words out there. And there are no perfect words. If you're conveying it and you're communicating it to the person who's reading it, that's all that matters is the communication. So if there's 5 ways to say the same thing, just pick one and go with it.
Awesome. I love that. So third best tip, because so far these are the juiciest of juicy. So the third top tip you give people to get going and write their book is what?
This is the way I teach people. They may have been writing books for a book for a year or 10 years or whatever, but if they do this one thing, they will get it. And that is use questions instead of bullet points. So when you were taught how to write an outline, you were taught how to format it with bullet points and Roman numerals and crazy little sketches and things. Forget that. I want you to write out a list of 10 questions for every topic that you have. And that is going to help trigger your brain because your brain is wired to answer questions. And if you can't answer a question in 10 minutes, then you've got to do some more thinking. Maybe you need to ask more questions. But that's how I get people to write books in just 10 minutes at a time. And they feel like they're moving forward because it's like, oh, I answered that question. Now I can go to the next one. And they keep going and they keep going. And before they know it, they've got a book.
That's brilliant. I love that. I think that can apply to anything, whether you're writing a white paper or even a letter for that matter.
Or a speech or any kind of content or an email, anything.
That's brilliant. I love that. So here's the good news and the bad news is I think when we give people tips like this and we say, go do it, it's still kind of a little bit of a mire of like, oh my God, what do I do first? So I know this is a question that you get asked every single day, probably multiple times. What's the very first thing that somebody should do when they say, you know what, I want to write a book?
Okay, the first thing you do is you think in your head, who is my target audience? Who is going to read this book? Because it's not everybody, okay? And then you ask yourself, what are the questions that those people have about whatever my topic is? Don't go, you cannot fill a book with everything you know. It's too much. It's too much for them. It's too much for you to write. All you need to do is answer their questions. So think in your head, who is my target audience and what questions do they have? Write down those questions and you have a great start to a book.
Okay, so just a question for you before we wrap up today's interview, but can you actually ask, I mean, I'm a marketer, right? So I like to ask the target client,
Absolutely.
reader, like, what are your questions?
Absolutely. Chances are you already know what those questions are, but you can always ask your target audience. You can go, there's lots of ways that you can find out those questions. You can ask people on a survey. You can ask people in a Facebook group that you're already in. You can go to your own FAQ page. What is your FAQ page? It's all the frequently asked questions, right? If you run a business and you have an FAQ page on your website, you can ask your sales team, what are the biggest questions people have that you hate answering over and over and over again? If you're selling something and you go talk to your sales team, people will tell you what the questions are and they will seem simple to you. And you'll go like, that's too easy, but it's not. That's what they need to know.
Brilliant. So here's the thing. I know that you have some amazing free tools, including some of the tips and this last suggestion about how to write the questions on your website for free in email. So I am totally putting the URL to your website on the post here, but really want to thank you, and thank you for always being such a supportive person as I've been writing my books over the years, and it's so great to talk to you today. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're so welcome. And if anybody else is out there wondering, you can do it. I believe in you.
Woohoo! Yay!